I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
All right, we are live, a little later than usual, but we are live on No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We are proudly presented by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I'm one of the hosts of the show, and to my right is a man who's a little late, but he's always on time, Dustin Henry. Dustin, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Got back from my holiday party at the day job, but I'm here. I told them, I said, I got a hard out. I said, the dozens of our fans need me. No,
There are dozens of us. Dozens.
No, I'm very excited to be here tonight. There's this week in football, we got some things to talk about. That's for sure. That is for sure. And happy to be with you as always. How are you today, sir?
Doing all right. You know, it's weird. We talk about work, and I haven't worked a full work week since the week of November 11th.
That's pretty sweet. That's
Yeah.
pretty sweet.
Yeah, when you've got so much time to burn for the rest of the year, it's like, gotta use it somehow. So, I had a 4-day weekend this past weekend. I had a half day today. Got another Friday coming up. Then we got Christmas next week, and then I have the 30th and the 31st off, and I have the New Year as well. So
awesome.
Yeah. So I don't have to work another full week of work until the week of January 5th. Sorry, January 6th. So,
okay.
So
okay.
yeah.
That's going to be tough to rip the Band-Aid off because I'm in a similar boat. Not as much time, but I have not worked a full week since Thanksgiving week, or the week before Thanksgiving week. So not quite as good of a run, but still, it's going to be tough to rip the Band-Aid off when it's like that first week of January, the first full week, and you're just like, oh man.
Yeah. Oh, before we get to everything in this week's show, this edition of No Credentials Required, just to remind the people at home about our social media channels: Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ, Twitter, Instagram, scarcely used TikTok @NoCredsREQ, and YouTube.com/@NoCredsREQ. On the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast wherever you podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, and Pandora. And don't forget to get yourself notified on Twitter and on YouTube. That way you know when live shows are up. When live shows are up, we have video clips. When we have just regular show announcements. I announced yesterday about me and my buddy Tom Gazlowski, cooking up something good for the end of the year. So I want to stay tuned. Stay tuned to the to our socials, so you know when those are live. Also, show notes. Friday we'll have a happy hour at 7:30 Eastern time, because Dustin, you're going to do some live streaming, aren't you?
I am. Yeah, we were talking about scheduling. Talking about scheduling a couple of weeks ago, and I had remembered way back after Extra Life, the Extra Life game day, November 2nd. I appreciate everybody that donated, everybody that helped me out. But if you might remember, I was a little sick. I was under the
Yes.
weather, so I managed to make it 16 hours. And I said to myself, I had a lot of talk about 24 hours. So I said, why don't I do another stream before the holiday, right before? And I decided, I started talking it over and thinking it over. And I said to you last week, I was like, I think I realized the only time to do it is Saturday, the 21st. So
Yeah.
I will be doing a Extra Life, the sequel mini stream. If
Ooh.
you feel like stopping by, stop on by. I will be
Yeah.
streaming over at twitch.tv, El Dusto 67, the extra-life.org. If you've got the Christmas shopping done and you have the means and you feel like donating, go ahead. We've already raised over $1,000 for local area children that are
Yeah.
sick of the Bernard and Millie Duker Hospital. So all the money is going to go to them to help them deal with what they're dealing with, them and the families. So I figure, why not do it again? We had fun the first time. My buddy Chris is probably going to join me for some of it, possibly all of it. I don't know. We might be streaming For the King 2. The game just launched. We're having a great time with it. Ryan may or may not stop by. If he does, we may play a little more Fall Guys, and I might hook up Punch Out because my esteemed co-host apparently has some skills. I'd love to see it. So if you feel like it, stop on by, and to donate, extra-life.org, and search for me, Dustin Henry, and you'll find me. You'll be able to donate. I will be posting about it on my socials. I apologize for the short notice, but this was just
No.
I was like, oh, I remember I said I was going to do that. And then I'm like, time's a wasting. So here we are. Here we are.
So Friday happy hour, 7:30 Eastern.
Yes.
And Dustin's got a new side project with my one of my three rails co-hosts, Mr. Staniel Smooth, talking Seahawks
Yeah.
and the Seahawks sessions. So tune into that as well. I'm pretty sure that's why we're doing a 7:30 show as opposed to an 8:30 show on Friday, I suspect, right?
No, yeah. Well, actually, we're talking, but I'm going to try to do back to back. You and I are going to be the late
Hey.
show, sir. We're going to be down in some beers.
Yeah.
And so I said, Mr. Smooth's been pretty flexible, but moving forward, we're gonna release on Fridays. We're still working out the times, but.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're inclined and you feel like it, we got a fellow Seahawks fan in the chat already. He did stop by for part of the first episode, and Mr. Smooth and I were already discussing how we could have him on to chop up Seahawks with us at some point. Because
I'm sure he's going to be included in some other episodes.
Yeah,
we have more business to take care of, but before they do that, just want to remind people on the podcast side: rate and review. A 5-star rating helps. A review helps. A comment helps. They always help the show. We got some live comments coming in, but we want to remind our people we're a live show on Tuesdays and on Saturdays at most Saturdays really at 10 a.m. Eastern for the Saturday brunch edition. But this week we'll be moving up early to have our happy hour edition on Friday. But Dustin, little hand and the big hand are telling me something.
It's later than normal, but I do believe it's chime time.
It is chime time. We got some comments rolling in. Julie from Michigan never disappoints, saying, hello, gentlemen. Good evening to you, Julie. Kevin saying, nothing good to talk about the Seahawks this week. I have a feeling he's going to express some disappointment in this, maybe a little bit of disappointment in this show, but we never know.
Yeah, possibly. And Kevin, on Friday, if you want to hear me, I'm sure Staniel's going to be apoplectic, but me, we might have to break out the leather chair for this one. A little vent session. So it's going to be, I'm going to try to minimize the Seahawks talk. The Seahawks talk will always come out on this show, but I don't want to overlap a ton. But yeah, what a disappointment.
And Julie's saying, please beat the Vikings. Yeah, because the Lions got the Vikings this week.
Not with Sam Howell under center.
Yeah. The pink can of Sapna saying, sports ball. Sick Diggy joining us from Norway saying, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And Mr. Wilson saying, vent away. So I have a feeling it's going to happen sometime either during this show or during the Seahawks sessions, which is on the Time to BS with Staniel Smooth YouTube channel. But we're going to start off our show with the most entertaining game in Week 15. This is our Week 15 of the NFL. My goodness, we're coming up. Wow, yeah. We are 2 weeks away from the end of the year, my friend. In the calendar year, at least, and 3 weeks away from the NFL season ending, regular season ending. We have a lot more playoff spots to be determined.
Mm-hmm.
We've also got draft places to be determined as well. I believe right now the New York Giants hold the number one spot for the number one pick in the draft in the 2025 draft. Another quarterback heavy draft, so we're gonna definitely see some people, some good quarterbacks come out of this draft class, hopefully. But let's start off with your most entertaining game of Week 15, my friend.
Well, I'm gonna take a game that I have a feeling you may talk about later at some point, but there were really only a couple games that stood out, and I had a feeling you might talk about one of them. So I'm going to talk about the other. I mean, Lions and Bills. This felt like a prize fight. We had our eye on it. I think specifically you called it out in our Saturday show, and
actually, it was you.
Oh, it was me.
It was
Lions and Bills. Yeah, we'll have to see. Oh, yeah, that might have been me. Because I thought about.
I had my eye on Dolphins Texans, which also did not disappoint. But
that one. Yeah, it was me. Now I'm misremembering. I thought about picking Eagles Steelers, but I did not. That one was not as entertaining. But this game, the Bills and the Lions lived up to everything that we thought it would be. And I thought that the Bills defensively would struggle against the Lions because they couldn't. Mina Kimes, I was listening to her, and she pointed out, along with her co-host, the similarities between the way the Rams like to run things on offense. And it's similar to some of the things that the Lions like to do on offense. And we know how the Rams handled the Bills. So I thought that the Bills defense would struggle with the Lions, and they did. But the only problem is that the Lions defense, so depleted by injuries, I think it's finally starting to catch up with them.
Yeah.
They struggled to stop the Bills and Josh Allen as well, which I had concerns about on Saturday's show. I said, if Josh Allen is able to do the things that he normally does, the Bills will be in this game. Now, it was a back and forth affair. It was like a prize fight. What's even worse for the Lions is that David Montgomery is now lost for the season.
Yeah.
So they lose half of that Sonic and Knuckles dynamic duo. But I feel like Jamar Gibbs, who I believe is the Sonic in the equation, this could open the door for him to really take off because he's going to have to. He's going to have to. He's not as great of a finisher as Montgomery is at the goal line, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs brings another dimension. And I have to put this loss. Now, this is we've extolled the virtues of Dan Campbell many times on this show. We've also called him out for going for it on fourth down too many times. And I understand his rationale, but I almost picked him for the biggest disappointment of the week because I felt that going for that first onside kick with, I believe, about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, it was too early. It was too early. Now, I understand neither defense was able to stop anybody. I get that. You're trying to play a possession game. But the problem with going for an onside kick, especially at that point in the game, the mystery of the onside kick is gone because the rule changes, Ryan. They have to declare it now. So you lose that element of surprise. And I just felt like it was putting the cart before the horse. Maybe your defense and Aaron Glenn can dial up a stop. Maybe they could just get one, because all you needed was one to get the ball back. You were moving the ball against the Bills. They couldn't stop you. It was a back and forth. It was an offensive shootout. It's why it was so fun to watch. The Lions did not come out on the right side of this one, though. Sorry, Julie. The Bills showed that they can hang with any team in the NFL. And here we are. So that game was my pick for the most entertaining game. But I understand the game that you picked was no slouch, my friend.
Well, we're going to have to break out a particular element for this one. Homer alert! For the first time in a while, I'm breaking out the Homer alert. And it's for a good reason. This is only for the second time this year. All right. A couple weeks, about a month or so, I talked about the Cardinals and Dolphins being a dog of a game. And it actually wound up being entertaining. This week, my self-hatred game of the week was the Jets and the Jaguars. For obvious reasons. Because Jets are terrible. The Jaguars are terrible. This is supposed to be one of those matches that was supposed to be, I wouldn't say a playoff. Dare I say a playoff preview? But this is 2024 is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But this game was actually entertaining. And the Jets scored their first victory on Sunday for the first time in 90 days. On Sunday. They hadn't won a Sunday game since September.
I couldn't believe that when you laid that on me.
Since September 15th, for the first time in over 90 days, the Jets finally won a game on Sunday. And thanks to a big day from a certain wide receiver named Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams had a huge day. 9 receptions, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Jets finally scored 30 points, more than 30 points this season. They just scored 30 to beat the Jaguars of all teams. Granted, the Jaguars were one of the worst offenses in football right now to the Jets, because Mac Jones knows how to beat the Jets, but this time it's not his day. This is not his day. For the first time in 6 tries, the Jets vanquished Mac Jones. Finally. And
Mac Jones, the unstoppable Mac Jones.
Unstoppable force that is Mac Jones, yes. But here's the thing. To their credit, the Jaguars, they put up a fight. But for the first time the Jets doubled. And I mentioned this last week. Up until last week, they had 2 interceptions all season long. 2. They picked off Mac Jones twice, including Sauce Gardner's first interception in over 2 years.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it was his first of the season, let alone that. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the fact that it's his first interception since, I think, the Buffalo game in 2022. Yeah. That's his rookie season. And
now, do you think it's part of it is because of the old, I don't want to call it Richard Sherman syndrome, because he kind of moved around. So I'll call it the Darrelle Revis syndrome, where they just didn't throw at Revis. He shut down that side of the field. Does Sauce have the same effect? Is it just that nobody throws at him? Or is it because, to my knowledge, he's had a down year?
Yeah, I mean, I think he had a down year. He didn't play in last week's game in Miami. I think he's been hurt most of the year. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the reason why he's had a so-called down year compared to his first 2 years in the league. But he finally got the schneid. People have been yelling at him, get an interception. Yeah, we drafted you for a reason. I mean, you drafted him to be sticky with their best receivers, all right? That's the reason why they just drafted him in the first place. It wasn't for interceptions. It wasn't to be a ball hawk. It was just to be the guy who neutralizes the other team's best receiver. Mm-hmm. That was the reason why he was drafted. And I'm happy for the dude. I'm happy that he got his first interception in over 2 years. And I'm really I'm just happy for the Jets that they won a game on. It was nice to have a victory Monday for a change. It was nice to have a victory Monday for the first time in 3 months. The coffee tasted better. I mean, not that Invader coffee doesn't taste bad in the first place, but
yeah,
shout out Invader coffee. the air seemed sweeter. It just the birds were chirping a little bit louder. Things were just it was very I was smiling a little bit more. I was smiling a little bit more. I mean, the other part of it was the New Jersey Devils, doing their thing over the weekend. So, but most entertaining game for me. I was getting a little nervous on watching Red Zone as they get going back and forth. And here's the cool part about this Jets team. They got off to a really slow start. Their offense got off to a really, really slow start. They scored 25 points in the second half.
Yeah.
You just I haven't seen a 25-point outburst from a Jets team in a very, very long time, especially in the second half. So they did what they needed to do. Yeah, I know they slide down in the draft order. Like I think they're 8th in the draft order right now. So what? I mean, let's just celebrate the win, Jets fans.
Yeah,
right?
you gotta take the wins. That's the thing. When people say, "Oh, they should have lost so they could get a better draft position," players want to win. Most players, okay, most players. You can tell the ones that may feel differently about that, but you could tell the way that the Jets played this game, because I was going to pick it for most entertaining game because I was confident that if you picked Bills Lions, I was like, I'll pick Jets Jags, and then when I saw that you picked Jets Jags, I just flopped them. But you could tell that the Jets were playing. They were having fun out there for the first time in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially on defense. They got to Mac Jones. They sacked him twice. They picked him off twice. He threw 2 touchdowns. And Mac Jones just has that effect in the Jets, but not today. Not that Sunday. Not this past Sunday. And they got 3 games to go. They got to play spoiler against the Rams this week, they've won 7. The Rams have won 7 out of their last 9. So I know you're rooting for the Jets this week because your Seahawks are in the middle of that battle for first place in the NFC West right now.
Man, it's tough.
But it's a tough road. But for the Rams, hoping the Jets will play spoiler. Then they got to go to Buffalo. Then they got the end of the season against Miami at home. So, hopefully they can build on these next 3 games. Evaluate some players from next year. Let's see and they've been talking about the GM, talking to different ex-GMs in the league, see where they fit for next year. And also there's these rumors are going around that Mike Vrabel, one-time Tennessee Titans coach, Vrabel, is on the radar for head coach next year's Jets. So
that would be a great pick. I mean, I would tell you, I am still mystified that Mike Vrabel doesn't have a job. For all the people that talk about, I don't know why Bill Belichick didn't have a job, which if the rumors are true, Ryan, we usually don't engage in this, but I got to say it probably to you, it's got to feel good as a Jets fan that supposedly Bill Belichick reached out to inquire and the Jets said, no, thanks.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't believe that for a minute. It's just out there for engagement purposes. I mean,
yeah.
But
if that is actually true, it's a small measure of revenge against one Bill Belichick, but who knows?
Nah,
that's why we usually don't engage. We don't engage on that type of story on this show. But
no, we do not. No, sir, we do not have time for that nonsense. I know credentials required. We are a show of integrity and
I don't
entertainment.
know about that.
I mean, we're here for the entertainment. We're here for the lulls.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the biggest upset from Week 15. We really didn't have any. I was looking at the spreads this week, and although we saw some teams like the Bills beat the Lions, but that was only a 2.5-point spread. The Rams beat the 49ers. That was only a 2.5-point spread. But I have this game as my biggest upset, and it's not for the reason you think. Buccaneers absolutely beating the brakes off the Los Angeles. Well, should be San Diego Chargers. This was only a 3-point spread, right? But you are going to get one of 2 versions of Baker Mayfield in this game. You are either going to get the guy who throws 4 touchdowns, slings the rock around, gets some help from his running game, or you're going to see the guy throw 2 touchdowns and 3 picks.
Yeah.
And in this game, we got the former. We got Baker Mayfield throwing 4 touchdowns in this game. The Buccaneers scored 27 points in the second half. They scored on 5 of their 6 drives in that half, whether it be a touchdown or a field goal. The only drive they didn't score on was the last drive of the game, where they're just basically running out the clock. That was the only time they didn't score. But otherwise, Baker Mayfield, 4 passing touchdowns. Bucky Irving had 117 yards on the ground. And the Buccaneers, they remain in the driver's seat in the NFC South.
Yeah.
And they've got a pretty easy road, knock on wood if you're a Buccaneers fan. You got a pretty easy road ahead of you for that next division title. You got Dallas, Carolina, New Orleans for the next 3 games.
Yeah,
That's easy road.
That's a stretch you want. That's a stretch you want for sure. And it seems like Mike Evans, it looks like he's getting healthy. He came back from that, what was it, an Achilles injury? I'm trying to remember. Hamstring. Okay, yeah. He came back from the hamstring injury. He looked better in this game than he has in the last couple of weeks. And if he can reemerge as Baker's go-to option, they're gonna be all right. The Bucs running attack, Bucky Irving has been the story, but also in this game when Rachaad White came in, he also did well. If they can kind of get a 2-headed attack going, the Bucs with those teams coming up, like you said, their road is paved in gold if they want it, for sure.
Yeah. And if you're a team, if you're in the NFC playoff picture, especially if Baker's playing like this throughout the entire month of December into January, and the Buccaneers are healthy, and you're playing one of the toughest deep. This is a top tier team in terms of defense. They're not good. They're a bad defense. Todd Bowles is a very good defensive coach.
You would know that more than most. Yeah.
This is a team I would not want to run into in the first round of the playoffs because especially if they win the division. I predicted they would win the division at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna be at home, and you're gonna have to play when they're on offense, when they're on their offensive game, they're a really good team. And if they can duplicate the same on defense, this team could be a tough out in the playoffs. They were a tough out last year. They beat the Eagles. They figured out how to stop the tush push. They're the only team that really knew how to stop that. And they took the Lions to the limit in the divisional last season. And don't forget,
great game.
The Buccaneers beat the Lions in week 2 in Detroit.
That's right. I did forget about that. That was a shocking.
That was so long ago, but that's how long the Lions win streak goes until this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy. And we got a very active comment section. And I just have to respectfully disagree with one comment. LIK or Lick, I don't know how that is. He says that Lions Bills wasn't a shootout. What would you call it when somebody throws 494 yards and 5 touchdowns and the game is 42-48? That is not that is the definition of a shootout, my friend, because the Lions battled back as they often do with one Dan Campbell at the head coaching position. So I understand your points about the Bills. They were stopping them earlier in the game, but the Lions rallied as most probably knew that they would, because Dan Campbell can get those guys to run through a wall for them.
How about you, Dustin? What's the biggest upset this week?
The biggest upset for me, for the reason you said, it's Bucs Chargers, because like you said, it's not the manner in which, it's not the fact that the Bucs beat the Chargers, but it's the manner in which they did it. I looked at the games long and hard to see if there was any other game that felt like an upset for me, and there just was nothing. I almost wasn't going to pick an upset at all for the week, but you explained eloquently why. I agree. It is Bucs Chargers, and the Chargers defense has been playing pretty well this year. You haven't really seen them get their doors blown off like that. So it was surprising the way the Bucs did that. And I mean, there was a couple of those passes. One of them was, Mike Evans just got got down the sideline and got away a little bit, but still, you don't see a Chargers defense under Jim Harbaugh, get had like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, we're going to move on to our biggest disappointments for this week. And you know what? I'm going to take the lead on this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just because it's so obvious to me what the biggest disappointment was.
I almost picked this too. We're on synergy this week, Ryan.
Man, it's not just so much a team as it is a player. Mr. Jonathan Taylor, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Man.
I said on this program last week, my hottest individual take after week 14, the Colts had arguably the easiest road to an AFC wildcard berth. And I said, if all things went right, if they win in Mile High on Sunday against a very good Denver Broncos, a surprisingly good Denver Broncos team, FYI, their next 3 games are an easy road to hoe to get to the playoffs. They had Tennessee, they got the Giants, and they close out against the Jaguars. They don't have to travel to Jacksonville this time. They can just stay at home and play Jacksonville. I said if they won this game, this would be a nice little launching pad to that point. And in this game against Denver, they were in the driver's seat. They were in control of the game in the first half. They were up 13-7 at the half.
Yeah.
Bo
Nix, 75 yards, 2 picks in that first half.
Yeah. And he threw another pick to start the second half in his first drive. Threw his 3rd pick of the game. They were making him look like a rookie quarterback. The Colts defense did. They had short field, 41, and it was 2 plays. Second play of that drive, Jonathan Taylor, 41 yards to the house. Go up 19-7. Go to a commercial break. And then went to replay.
We gotta call Deshaun Jackson for this one.
We gotta call Malachi Corley for this one.
Okay, another good pick.
Yeah, I remember what happened on that Halloween game. My goodness, players, NFL, you're professionals. Jonathan Taylor, what's your 4th year in the league?
I think
you got a nice
big
5th year
already. Yeah.
Nice big awarded a nice big contract after last year at the beginning of towards the beginning of last year. You served your ankle, you were on IR, you served your time, came back, had a nice little season. Don't drop the ball before you cross the plane. Because you looked at the replay, he drops the ball at the half-yard line, rolls past the pylon, out of bounds in the end zone. It's a touchback. And after that, touchdown was taken off the board. The Broncos go out on a 24-0 run.
Yeah.
After that fumble. It just turned the tide. All the momentum switched. The crowd at Mile High Stadium went bananas. They got on your case. And then the offense just couldn't do anything the rest of the game. Anthony Richardson did moderately well up until that point. He threw 2 interceptions. And I think the stat line for Bo Nix was like 17 of 31 for 121 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Yeah. This was not exactly, with the exception of a couple quarterbacks, the majority of whom we have already talked about or will be talking about in the show. There was some subpar quarterback play this week, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean there were some exceptional performances, but there were also some just awful performances. Even in wins, there were some really terrible performances. I have to look up that line. I'm still looking up that line. Where
you are
there? 15.
You are right. It was like 121 yards or something like that. 131 maybe.
Bo Nix, 20 of 33, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but he had 121 net yards. Was also sacked once. It was only his 20th sack taken this year. But Anthony Richardson threw two interceptions in the second half, including there was also one, including that really terrible play that terrible trick play that totally backfired on them.
Oh man,
For
didn't they call that a fumble?
They called it a
That's how.
fumble.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah, that was bad. They were trying to spark the offense. That didn't work.
Now they got some help from the Buccaneers because the Chargers lost, so they still stay behind. The Dolphins lost too, so that helps them. But the Bengals won, so they're on their heels. The Bengals don't look now. Here come the Cincinnati Bengals, but they have a tougher road than anyone else to get to the playoffs. So
yeah.
All right, that was my biggest disappointment. I felt good to get off my chest. What about you, Dustin? Your biggest disappointment from Week 15?
Well, I was about to call out one Jonathan Taylor, but then I looked in the show notes and I was like, I should have known that Ryan would be on this. It's why he's the best in the business. So I had an alternate pick lined up, and it's really, and you're gonna tell me, some of you may call me out and say, you're picking this kid really after after some of the, but I got to pick Bryce Young. Okay, Bryce Young. We have been talking, I think, a little bit about how he's starting to show signs of maturing, and you're starting to see some of the potential of why he was picked number 1 overall. I still don't think he should have been picked ahead of CJ Stroud, although CJ Stroud has struggled a bit this year by his standards, not quite as a great of a year as he had last year, but I'd still take Stroud over Young if I had to do it all over again. But you started to see some of the promise that Bryce Young showed. And I particularly was talking about how he's growing up. He's starting to figure it out. He learned under Andy Dalton. And I get, not every game is going to be a great game. Not every game is going to be eye-popping numbers. But Bryce Young came out and he threw 2 interceptions in this game. And I understand some people might say, yeah, but the Cowboys defense has been improving. And they really have. The Cowboys defense is part of the reason why they have won a little bit and looked a little better than they have looked in recent weeks. But in my opinion, Bryce Young previously played better against defenses that were better than the Cowboys defense is now. Now the Chiefs defense has had their struggles recently, but when Carolina played them, they were a very solid unit, and they still are. They're the Chiefs. The defense is going to get it together to some degree, I think. But Bryce Young played better than this against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles are looking like an absolute force right now. And look what they just did to the Steelers. They limited the Steelers offense to, I believe it was 13 points. Bryce Young went 19 for 28 for 219 yards. He did throw a TD, but he also threw those 2 interceptions against the Cowboys defense that I feel like is inferior to defenses that he has looked better against. So this was kind of a comeback to earth game for Bryce Young. So that's why maybe it was just because I was starting to root for him, starting to see what the Panthers are trying to put together. And so I was disappointed. So that's why he gets my biggest disappointment of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, we got some comments rolling in.
Yeah, we got
thanks for all the credits out there. Most of them are coming on YouTube, but Facebook, Twitter, step up your game.
Yep.
And we get lots of comments coming in here. Diggy saying a homer alert. Well, in that case, I say don't. Your Uncle Al saying, "What is this quote victory unquote you speak of?" I'm unfamiliar with the concept. Oh my goodness.
I have to say, you and Uncle Al get my respective silver and gold medal for being some of the most loyal football fans out there, because both of you are ride or die for your squads. I know Uncle Al particularly, he watches every painful Giants snap during the season. So
we got a new viewer named Paul in the chat. He says MCDC has earned the right to play any way he sees fit. The team is decimated right now, and Allen is MVP this year. Injuries are the Lions' downfall this year. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it is. Their defense is. I mean, they're elevating Jamal Adams after he was on the team for 4 days. Okay, so we get it.
We get it. We get it. Julie saying this, it's true. The Lions team has been is absolutely devastated with injuries. It's a serious struggle, but which was their winning streak, which was what their winning streak was that much more impressive. But it's a next man up mentality. I also want to say thanks for all the comments, crudheads. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Julie saying I'm not a Stroud fan purely for the fact he went to Ohio State. Sports Julie is pretty petty. LOL. We got ourselves another new fan in the chat. Spencer saying it's been thinking, Spencer, welcome. Saying I'm a Stroud fan. Feel bad for all the Lions injuries. He says I would have felt bad. Would have loved for the Lions to crush the Vikings to crush the Lions at full strength.
Oh man.
Uncle Al chiming in says I have a bad feeling we'll end up with the Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. Ugh. I saw a crazy stat today. There have been 4 teams this season that have not scored 30 points in a game. The Patriots.
Mm-hmm. That's
the Raiders. The Raiders.
Obviously with Desmond Ridder. Ooh.
The Giants. And the Kansas City Chiefs.
I knew the last one was going to be the Chiefs. I knew it. I'm telling you, I keep having to eat my words, but eventually their luck is going to run out. Eventually it's going to happen.
Well, I mean, Patrick Mahomes did injure his ankle, had his ankle injured on Sunday, and he's questionable for the next 3 games. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens if somebody's going to have to fill in for him. All right, we're going to take our network mandated commercial break, but when we come back, we got some breaking news.
Oh.
And we're going to wrap up the rest of what stood out to us in Week 15 in the NFL. So stay tuned and stand by for more No Credentials Required.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
Oh man, I could have used some of this today. Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. This is a nice little break between lunch and dinner. You little protein pick me up in between lunch and dinner. Get yourself some Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. Lots of flavors. You got not only craft jerky, but also got turkey jerky. They got the biltong, which is the South African inspired air dried jerky. They got beef sticks. 100% beef. 100% beef. Like those other stores, like those other beef sticks that you snap into. Their primary ingredient is pulverized chicken.
For shame, Macho Man.
Shame, Macho Man. But it's not just for human consumption. You got dog treats. All natural beef dog treats. You got dog toys. You got some great gear out there. So why don't you go ahead, do yourself a favor. The holidays are coming. They have big old baskets you can get for the man or woman or child who loves themselves some excellent craft jerky. So what you're going to do is go to righteousfelon.com. You're going to do some shopping. Go to enter promo code BELLYUP at checkout. Get 15% off your order. But wait, there's more. Not only can you get 15% off with promo code BELLYUP, you can also get free shipping with every order of $50 or more. Combine those 2 things. Combine the promo code and the free shipping. You save more money. Especially if you're looking for some little stocking stuffers. It's not candy this year for your loved one for the for Christmas or or I believe they're kosher for Hanukkah.
Well, I'll have to check into that.
We'll do some real time research about it. But also our friend Jersey G, she sent her daughter some Righteous Felon Craft Jerky in a care package when she was in college, when she was at her first semester in college, and she said that her daughter loved the habanero. And habanero, it's got some flavor, but it's also got some spice.
Oh yeah, it's seriously. I've had the habanero. I enjoyed it very much. The habanero Escobar, I believe. They all have the clever names there. I love that.
Yes.
And let me tell you, it'll kick you a little bit. And I have a spice tolerance, but it came with the heat. It came out of the booth, as my friend Chris likes to say.
You got that
right. You reminded me, Ryan, the dog treats. That's the holidays are coming, and I have a very special dog nephew that I must buy presents for. So I will be going right after the show. And I will be using the promo code, and I will be getting some dog treats, and I'll probably get a little snack for myself there. Maybe some supplies for the stream on Saturday here. But
and also if you put in all the Christmas orders end tomorrow, so if you're gonna get yourself some stocking stuffers for the holidays, you want to order by tomorrow. So get yourself to righteousfelon.com, promo code BELLYUP for 15% off your order plus. Every order, regardless of whether you use the promo code or not, I would highly recommend using the promo code. Yes. If it helps their network, get free shipping for all orders over $50 or more. Dustin, I mentioned that we had some breaking news. I'm going to break up that bumper right now. I got some breaking news.
All right.
So according to Adam Schefter on Twitter, announced this news about 40 minutes ago, Michael Penix Jr. has been named Falcons starting quarterback.
Wow.
Moving forward.
Wow. It's the end of the Captain Kirk era. I mean, if you saw that game against the Raiders last night, I mean, I guess you can't be surprised. I mean, the Falcons won that game, but the Raiders were hapless on offense. Hapless. It was bad. It was bad. I didn't even see most of the game because I was at bowling, but you could tell. But the Falcons barely, like, they should have destroyed the Raiders this game, and they did not. They did not. Wow.
Michael I was looking forward to a Desmond Ridder revenge game, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But it looked like both games were pretty bad last night between the Vikings. Yeah. I mean, if you're a Vikings fan, you're on top of the world right now. Although I want to say those uniforms they had last night, those was it what do they call the snow uniforms?
Yeah, I did like the looks of those.
Those were really smooth. They were really smooth, I gotta say. So, well, yeah, Michael Penix Jr., quarterback for the last 3 weeks of the season. Looks like Raheem Morris is trying to save the Falcons season. We'll see what happens. I gotta look to see who their next 3 opponents are. But yeah, I mean, they still kept they still kept pace in the division. They're still a game behind the Buccaneers, but man, Atlanta got some offensive troubles there. And I wouldn't mind getting paid $180 million to sit on my butt either.
Yeah. No, and I mean the thing is, and I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently they had a shot at Lamar. They had a shot at Lamar.
Yep.
Which could you believe if Lamar Jackson, who I will be talking about later in the show, spoiler, man, what he would do in that Falcons offense right now. My goodness.
Yep. So the Falcons' next 3 opponents are the Giants, the Commanders, and the Panthers. That game, I would have that Week 17 tilt against Washington circled on my calendar. It's actually the Sunday night game that week, Week 17. So I got that circled on my calendar to see what happens with Michael Penix and Jaden Daniels play against each other. Hopefully we got some fireworks that game.
Oh yeah.
But we're going to move on. We had some breaking news, so thank you, Adam Schefter, for that information. We're going to talk about our most notable performance or performances from Week 15. Dustin, I'm going to have you lead off here since I went first the last couple of times. Who was your most notable performance of Week 15?
My most notable performance is Mr. Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson was 21 of 25. That's right. He only had 4 incompletions for 290 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson despite the fact that I sometimes say the Ravens, they play down to competition. Sometimes they don't, they don't always play as good as I think that they could play. It's usually not Lamar Jackson's fault. And people are going to say, oh, it's against the Giants. Oh, it's against the Giants. Well, the Giants pass rush was getting to him for a little bit early in that game. And I said, oh, look at that. Look at that. Maybe my shout out to their defensive pass rush on Saturday's show. Maybe they heard that. We know you're big fans. We know you're big fans. We know that you're watching while eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, Joe Shane. You like to tune in while we were reviewing Hard Knocks off season. But
Skippy Welch's and wheat bread for the win.
Yeah.
For me anyway. I don't know what Joe Shane put. What kind
it
of
was an
butter
Uncrustable he was eating. He
Oh,
was like
come on, that's
munching
cheating.
I think
cheating.
or no, was it his wife? Was it his wife made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I
couldn't
gotta
tell
go
which
back and rewatch.
brand. Yeah, I couldn't tell which brand she had. But,
yeah, but
Uncrustables, it's cheating.
but I mean, yes, he dominated the Giants. He did what you're supposed to do against teams. And I mean, any game where you only have 4 incompletions, you're doing a great job. And this, I mean, thank you, Adam Schefter, because that breaking news just dovetails perfectly with my end of show, because guess what? It will not be the first time I bring up Lamar Jackson. And but with that, Ryan, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Who was most notable for you, sir?
It wasn't so much of individual performance, but it was performance by 2 teams. I'm going back to the Bills-Lions game, because that game, yes, it was a shootout. I know Spencer in the chat saying it wasn't a shootout, or Lick in the chat said it wasn't a shootout. It was a shootout, okay? But think about this. These teams, they were the national game of the week for a reason, and they did not disappoint by any stretch of the imagination. The 2 teams, the Lions and the Bills, combined for 1,080 yards total. That includes 197 yards rushing for the Bills. Jared Goff, and granted, gotta give credit to the Bills here. They took away the run game of the Lions, made them one-dimensional, which is why Jared Goff had 494 yards and 5 touchdowns. Touchdowns. Josh Allen, 4 total touchdowns, which brings his total for the last 2 weeks to 10.
That's ridiculous.
10 touchdowns, rushing and passing the last 2 weeks. And unlike your Uncle Al, who said before we took the commercial break, that he has a bad feeling we'll end up with a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl, I'm going to say this. If this was a Super Bowl preview, I'll be happy to have the Bills and the Lions in the Super Bowl and have them play that kind of a game in this year's Super Bowl in February in New Orleans. Oh, yeah.
I'd be in for that. Oh, my goodness. Where's the thunderclap? Because I hope that prediction comes true.
Wait for it. Well, it's not so much a prediction. I'm just saying I would be very happy. But I guess you can make it a prediction. There it is.
Because I am a realist. The Seahawks, it's going to be a tough road to hoe for the playoffs, period. The way things are going. And the Seahawks are not Super Bowl ready. You'll hear more about that on Seahawks sessions. But I was kind of a realist. They've overperformed this season, in my opinion, though. I didn't think they'd get to 8 wins. So, I mean, hey, what do you want?
Yeah, it's true. That's true. And to be fair, I did have the Lions as my NFC representative for the Super Bowl. You did. So that's one of my teams being predicted to go to the Super Bowl. But hopefully all those injuries don't impact them in the playoffs. But I'd like to see them be a tough out. Dan Campbell will have them ready. And I see, sure. And what's funny is that I see Dolphins fans on social media getting all salty because the Dolphins, because Chris Greer let Dan Campbell walk out the building and take the Lions job.
Oh man! That's the most evil laugh I've ever heard come from you before.
Yeah, because I hate the Dolphins. All right, we're gonna close up the show with our hottest individual takeaways following Week 15 of the season. and I might as well start. So a couple weeks ago, we had our personal league MVP power rankings. And as the card on YouTube and on Facebook might suggest, it asked the question, was the MVP crown in week 15 for the National Football League? I believe it was. Now, I had Saquon Barkley become number one in our respective league MVP power rankings. He had a tough game last week against the Steelers, 68 rushing yards for the first. He held to under 100 yards rushing for the first time since week 10, I believe. When the Cowboys of all teams, the Cowboys held him to under 100 yards rushing. Now, he still has an outside shot of getting 2,000 for the season. Don't get me wrong. Still some great statistics. But based on the last 5 weeks of the season, looking back at the stats for Josh Allen, listen to these stats. He has emerged as my MVP candidate for this year. But listen to these last 5 games for Josh Allen. He has a 66.1% completion percentage, 1,394 yards, 8 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions, while he's amassed 273 yards rushing and 8 rushing touchdowns. He's got 16 total touchdowns in the last 5 weeks and only 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions in that span. And he's 4-1 in that span. The Bills beat the Chiefs. They beat the Dolphins. They beat they knocked the Chiefs from the unbeaten ranks. Don't forget that.
Yep.
Beat the Chiefs, beat the Dolphins, beat the Lions. I'm trying to remember who the fifth team they beat was. Please hold. I had this memorized too. That's the problem.
Oh man, yeah, that's.
I had this memorized.
Oh, geez.
49ers.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yep. And that was when the 49ers were healthier, if I'm remembering.
Well, as you and Mr. Smooth called them on Seahawks sessions, San Francisco.
Yeah, Staniel was pretty
or at least he did.
Happy about that one. Yeah.
But these are quality opponents that he's beaten. Now, granted, had a shootout the week before in Los Angeles against the Rams, and Rams had fully control of that one, but they stormed back in that game. He would be 5-0 at this point, but man, Josh Allen has pretty much emerged as my leading candidate for MVP. I think if it is a great 3 weeks for the rest of the season, although I had to think he might rest against the Patriots.
Yeah,
because they had the end of the season. They have sandwich games: Patriots, Jets, Patriots. So, with the way the Patriots have played this year, they're in a rebuild year. He might play all 3 games, especially if home field's on the line.
Yeah, that's a possibility, but I would hope, especially with the way that he plays, and he plays very physically at the quarterback position. I would hope that they at least take him out maybe at the half if they're up handedly. Because you got to try to manage. You don't want anything to happen to him, because I think he is the front runner for the MVP. Although I would argue that perhaps if Jared Goff can weather the storm and kind of have the Lions rebound with the David Montgomery injury, if they have to rely on the passing attack as they did in this game, and he could really put up some gaudy stats, he could make it interesting. I think he could make it interesting.
I think if Saquon Barkley does eclipse the 2,000-yard mark, he'll definitely make his case for sure. But now,
that's another thing. Yeah,
in my mind, I think right now Josh Allen has cemented league MVP for 2024.
Yeah.
In my humblest opinions. Dustin, hottest individual takeaway from week 15 for you?
Well, last week, Ryan, I kind of cooked. I don't think people expected me to go in on Rob Ryan, but it was the shot on the sideline of Rob Ryan that really fueled my fire, and I went for it. I went in, I did some research. Some of it was suspect. Okay, Gemini's not the best, but I had multiple sources.
Sorry, I was looking at the scoreline, 2-0 Devils in the second period over.
Oh, there we go. That's some content. Tune in to the Three Rails Metro Hockey Podcast to hear Ryan's reaction to this potential win for the Devils. So this week I'm going on another voyage, and go with me. And it didn't age as well because the Jets.
Is it like Coolio on a Fantastic Voyage?
Yes. Slide, slippity slide with me.
Fantastic Voyage, slippity slide.
I know I've mentioned something similar about this before, but this Michael Penix news really does dovetail because the Atlanta Falcons did have a shot at one Lamar Jackson. The Ravens were apparently listening to offers because they did not want to give him the money that he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I just gave you Lamar Jackson's stats for that game, but he's been doing this all season. His numbers... He's got 34 touchdowns. You want to take a guess at how many interceptions he has? He has
3.
Oh, you are one off. You were very good, sir. He has 4 picks.
Ooh.
Okay, 4 picks. He is having a great season, and were it not for the season that Josh Allen is having, he would also be in MVP conversations, I would warrant. Now, why am I bringing up Lamar Jackson again? I'm bringing up Lamar Jackson again because Aaron Rodgers, now he did rebound. He did rebound very well in the second half of the Jets game. But do you want to know how many passes total Aaron Rodgers completed for the half in the first half?
6.
It was 3 passes.
3.
He completed 3 total passes in the first half. Conversely, Lamar started 8 for 8 in that Giants game. He did not have an incompletion in his first 8 passes. And why is it that Lamar Jackson is regarded, well, he runs around, but he's not an accurate passer? That narrative needs to die. Whereas Aaron Rodgers is still regarded as a very accurate passer. I would say Aaron Rodgers was a very accurate passer. He has missed people wide this year. And this is not to throw shade at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson are at different ages in their careers, different stratas now. And Aaron Rodgers, he turned back the clock a little bit. He looked good against the Jags in that second half. He really got it going. But it just frustrates me sometimes that people, and Aaron Rodgers gets a lot of flack in the media. People have problem with him based on his views or some of the things he says. They think he's a diva, whatever they want to say. But my point is that the New York Jets rolled out the red carpet. They brought in personnel decisions that while not totally dictated by Aaron Rodgers, were at the very least influenced, and they let Aaron Rodgers he had massive inputs on the design of this offense. There is no denying that. Now, it hasn't worked out the way that he and everybody else wanted it to work out, but he had input. But yet when Lamar bet on himself and he said, I would like to be paid what I'm worth, and he bet on himself, teams were hesitant to pick him up, and they said, well, we can't let a quarterback dictate the way the offense is. Why is it that Lamar Jackson gets a little bit of a negative connotation, whereas Aaron Rodgers, while he does get the negative connotation, people will do it. There's always a team out there that'll say, okay, I'll bring him in. He's a Hall of Famer. We're going to adjust. He'll get it done for us. But Lamar Jackson, who I do believe, it is early in his career to foist any of these expectations, but I do believe if he keeps playing the way he's playing, he's going to be a Hall of Famer too. He just does it a little differently at the position. So, like I said, this is not to throw shade at Aaron Rodgers, but when there's a quarterback that people believe is accurate and good and will be in the Hall of Fame, and you should shape your offense around it. I guess my whole narrative is Lamar has earned that respect, in my opinion. He is somebody that you shape your offense around. He is an accurate passer. Quit saying he's not. Quit saying that he only runs, because he is past that. You want to talk about his rookie year and maybe his second year in the league? He got it done with his legs. But he has become a very accurate passer. He's got 4 picks on the year, 4 picks to 34 TDs. He can pass. and he deserves the respect that Aaron Rodgers and others, Brady, I mean, people would bend over backwards for Brady. He's in a category of his own, but just start treating Lamar Jackson with some respect, and I bet you the Atlanta Falcons are regretting not bringing him in.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the comment section before we go. Your Uncle Al asked a pretty good question. Does Joe Shane survive this season? If so, what will they do with the first pick? Let's see that for Friday.
Oh, all right. Nice tease.
I have some thoughts.
That's why you're a profesh. That's why you're a profesh.
Professional-ish. Spencer saying, eager to see how Michael Penix looks. Saying Michael Penix looks. Penix was taken ahead of J.J. McCarthy, so he wants to see how this plays out.
Okay.
Sick Diggy, the commercial. Let's see. Let me go. Let me this. No Credentials Required is brought to you by Rugged Man Beards, the ideal beard line for your ruggedly manly beard. Whether your style is Nordic, Celtic, or Gaulish, Rugged Man Beard is your go-to. And Woodsman Stink. The best place for manly fragrance, whether it's well-groomed and chic, rugged cowboy, or lumber sexual hipster. This is your ideal spot.
I think, to quote my Uncle Al in the comments, I think he would look at lumber sexual hipster and think that was a great name for a band.
It probably would be.
Yeah.
He also says people would bend over backwards for Brady. Tom Brady.
Forwards.
I have a counter to that. And I will say this, Tom Brady for years took, and this is well documented, he took team-friendly deals.
He did.
When he was with the Patriots.
He did.
It wasn't until towards the end where his relationship with Bill Belichick soured a bit that he decided, you know what, I'm going to go somewhere else and get the money that I've been waiting to get all my career, which is why he spent his last 2-3 seasons in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, in Tampa Bay, I mean, they completely shaped things around him. And it worked out for him because they got a Super Bowl.
Your cohort for Seahawks Sessions, Staniel Smooth, just doing this and says, you guys just lost the game.
Oh.
All right, whatever. And he also says Tom Brady looks like a middle-aged lesbian. Sir, listen,
he has gotten some work done. He has.
It looks like it too, because I mean it's funny. Like Tom Brady and I are separated by, let's see, Tom Brady, he was born. Let's see.
You're aging finer. I'm calling it.
He is 17. We are 17 days apart. So, yeah, he does look like he's had a lot of work done. I think most of it's for TV purposes because he's on Fox Sports now. Says, I mean, I'm not wrong. No, you're right. You're right. And Six saying, oh, this will be the last comment of the night. Six says, I've seen my fair share of lumber sexual hipsters. The flannels and skinny jeans have me laughing hard inside. Probably seen your share in Norway for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get ourselves out of here. But before we do, people know about our social medias: Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ, Twitter, Instagram, scarcely use TikTok @NoCredsREQ, and YouTube.com/@NoCredsREQ. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you find podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, and Pandora. And don't forget to get yourself notified on Twitter and on YouTube. That way you know when the live show goes up. That way you know we get notified for shows, for future shows, for announcements, show announcements. Also for any videos that come up for the Three Rails Metro Hockey Podcast. Which, by the way, it's funny, we addressed the Buffalo Sabres. What's up with the Buffalo Sabres? Last night's program when we recorded, they're down 5-1 to Montreal in the third period.
Oh man,
Patrick and Montreal scored 19 seconds into the game. So
wow,
it was getting very late, very early for the Buffalo Sabres. So I don't think we're going to talk about them again, but you never know. You never know. On the podcast side, rate and review. 5-star rating would help. A review if you're on a platform where you can review the show. Also leave a comment on the Spotify. They help the show, help the people to get notified. Tell a friend, word of mouth always helps. We're actually, last I saw, we're 36 downloads away from 2,500 for the year, which may not sound like a whole lot, but for this show, it's actually our best year ever, 2024. So
here we go.
Every download helps, whether you're listening to the OG show, whether you're listening to the crossovers with Levac and Gaz, whether you're listening to the Three Rails Metro Hockey Podcast. We appreciate every one of you. And engage with the show. Leave a comment. We saw lots of engagement in the live show.
Yeah.
Lots of engagement tonight. We have some new cred heads in the chat. We appreciate every single one of you who have participated, whether you're in the USA or abroad. If you're watching on replay on Rumble or on YouTube, leave us a comment. We might even read it on the air. And we're going to get out of here. But don't forget, Friday, happy hour, 7:30. Grab a drink, join us. No show on Tuesday because it's Christmas Eve, and if you're a psychopath if you want to stream on Christmas Eve. So we'll be back the following Saturday at 10 a.m. and then we'll be on Monday the 30th at 7:05 Eastern Time. We'll be back to talk about Week 17 in the NFL. But in the meantime, thanks for tuning in to No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We are proudly presented by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. For Dustin Henry, I'm Ryan McCarthy. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Grab a drink. We'll talk some football and maybe some other stuff. So come on by. Check us out. We'll talk to you again very, very soon.
Good night, everybody.